Good morning, everyone. My name is Tara Lehman, and I'm your Executive Director over at the Portugal Cove St. Philip's Chamber of Commerce. Wanting to welcome you to this chamber chat today, which is all about workplace mental health and presented by John Dinn from the Canadian Mental Health Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. So, this is a wonderful, very timely topic with COVID going on over this past year, and especially with the roller coaster of a ride we've been experiencing this past week. So we hope that this presentation is of help to you both personally and professionally. And please note that this event will be available in our video library, along with a document that is strictly about how to work effectively in the workplace with yourself, your colleagues, and just mental health tips that you can apply to that situation. So for on that note now, what I'd like to do is introduce John Dinn, and thank you very much again for being here.
And thank you, Tara, for having me, and thank you, folks out there, for taking the time out of your day to tune in. These are definitely unprecedented times with the new recent changes in our COVID levels, and so that's obviously impacting everyone's mental health, not only at work but outside of work and in their daily lives. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So I'll put my screen up here now so that hopefully everyone can see this. So can everyone see that there now? Can you see that, Tara? Okay. So what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to just take my lovely little face off the screen here from you, and let you just see the actual presentation. As Tara mentioned, as we go through this, if you have any questions or questions or things you want to ask, by all means, just type it in the chat box, and Tara will alert me, and we can certainly address those. And also at the end, if you have anything, hopefully I'll leave some time at the end if people want to ask a few questions as well. So I'm just going to take my face off the screen here as we go through this. And so when Tara asked me to come on, we're talking about workplace mental health. But most recently, with all the changes now with our COVID alert levels, most of us probably aren't working in our workplaces anymore. Our workplaces now are our homes, and with all the changes now with the alert levels and the new, I guess the variant of COVID and the numbers going up, a lot of people's stress and anxiety may also be increasing with having to deal with these new changes. So I'm going to focus more so on that in this presentation because it will impact, of course, not only our work lives but also our personal lives as well. So just a disclaimer about the presentation. Again, we're not giving people medical advice here in this. We're certainly give you some good information, but would strongly suggest if at any point you do feel you need extra help or whatever, to consult your doctor or a medical physician as well. So some of the things we're going to talk about in this presentation is we're going to talk about, like, well, I guess a little introduction to CMHA, some of the prevalence of mental illness in our society to begin with, talk a bit about mental health, stress and anxiety, and at the end we're going to hopefully talk more so about ways we can cope with stress and anxiety now that a lot of us are facing in our new situation with COVID. I shouldn't say new; it's a second time around for us, I believe. So CMHA, we're one of Canada's oldest charities. We've been around since 1918. We're a nationwide leader for mental health, a champion for mental health. Um, we help people build resilience and help people recover from mental illness. A lot of our policies and the things, programs are based on evidence. They're evidence informed, best practices, and they're also informed by people with lived experience, personal experience. Nationally, CMHA is all over Canada. There's approximately 120 branches all across Canada. In Newfoundland itself, we have an office on Topsail Road in St. John's, one in Grand Falls, Windsor, and another one in Stephenville. And you can certainly access CMHA online on our website, cmhnl.ca. So one of the things I always like to talk about with workplace mental health is the actual the prevalence of it, or the actual stats or numbers of how many people actually may be living with mental illness or mental health issues. So one in five of us at any point in time may experience mental health illness in our lifetime. Actually, in our lifetime, the stats are about one in three. And that usually only identifies those people that actually may go to to seek treatment and help. So there may be actually these numbers may actually be higher than what's actually reported. Mental health problems typically account for 30% of disability claims. And however, the cost with those disability claims is about 70%. So there's a lot of cost attributed to mental health disability claims. Not to say that someone with a mental health issue or mental illness is a kind of a drain on our economy or workplace, but it's just that with mental health issues, they probably haven't been given as much attention as physical health issues in our workplace. So we're now starting to catch up and realize that we have to pay attention not only to physical health issues in workplaces, but also mental health issues in workplaces. And so recently, a few years ago, they recently created these new standards, psychological health and safety standards for workplaces, which address mental health issues in workplaces. Um, Another stat here, 70-80% of medical visits are related to stress. I guess we can actually see a lot of that now, given the extra stress of COVID has impacted on our life. 500,000 Canadians don't feel mentally well enough to go to work each week. So that is basically almost the population of Newfoundland. So when you think of mental illness, it's not just a few people, it could be a lot of people, it could be any of us basically. And in terms of cost to the economy, it's down here in the last stat, we're looking at about $51 billion a year in lost productivity. So we really need to pay attention to mental health and maintaining people's mental health in our workplaces, because it does have such a severe impact on us and our economy. So what is mental health? Um, well, basically, mental health is the capacity of each and all of us to think and act and feel in ways that enhance our ability to enjoy life. So, also, it's our ability to deal with changes we face, and it's a positive sense of emotional and spiritual well being. So, this is from the Public Health Agency of Canada. And so, again, our mental health is really being challenged now with COVID-19, with the isolation that's required, the lockdown, the closures. Our regular outlets for protecting our mental health are no longer available for us. There's that constant fear of the virus, of catching the virus, of the new, more contagious virus numbers going up. So again, that is adding to a lot of our own fear and anxiety, and which is impacting our mental health at this time. So, what is anxiety? So I don't know, Mochi might have seen the Home Alone movies with Kevin, and when he was left all alone by himself in his house after his parents had all gone on their holidays and that, and forgot Kevin. A lot of us are feeling the same way. We're home alone or we're isolating. We can't go out and do the same things. But as if you did see the movies, you probably realized that Kevin made the best of his situation, even it was under stressful times. So again, that's pretty much what we are asking ourselves to do now. with isolation is how can we help ourselves while we're home alone. So, all the experiences that we're experiencing right now, the physical distancing, the social isolation, that, um, you know, um, waiting on test results or the new variant, the numbers increasing. Again, this is all impacting our anxiety. So anxiety is basically a normal reaction to stress. So all of us may experience anxiety from time to time. It's a feeling of being aware and focused on a stressful event or situation. You experience worry, uneasiness, nervousness about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So again, we're looking at our situation now with COVID-19, and a person would want or be eager to do something or have something very much, especially because of the fear of nervousness. So a lot of us are now wanting things to go back to our normal. So again, we're wanting a sense of normalcy again, or be able to go back to work or a regular lifestyle. It's typically an appropriate and reasonable way to react, and anxiety passes when the event or situation is resolved. The unfortunate situation now with our situation with the COVID is that it's not actually resolving probably as quickly as we would like to, or there is kind of a relapse almost, so to speak, that we're now having to deal with kind of this second wave. So again, that's causing people anxiety. Um, some examples of anxiety are when we were young, we're probably always taught that look both ways, before you cross the street of that, or we may be worried about an exam or interview or some new job or that, or again, currently right now, we're feeling worried and afraid with this global health crisis. So anxiety is normal and helpful for us in ways that it helps prepare us to deal with a situation. And right now with COVID-19, a lot of us are feeling a lot more worried about exposure. There's, people possibly of losing their job or cutbacks, worrying about the future, the new variant, right? And all this is appropriate anxiety. It's a stressful time for everyone, and a lot of our experiences now are being impacted by COVID. So a lot of people are being feeling very anxious about what's happening, and it's probably a bit more challenging how to function now with the with, COVID and that. So it affects all parts of our life right now. So if you think about our school life, work, family, social life, again, the COVID is actually causing much anxiety in all those areas of our life. In terms of an anxiety disorder, again, this is when you feel impaired by the anxiety and it's starting to interfere with your work, personal life, and your daily routines. And this is where we hope that we don't go this way. So again, we want to make sure that there are ways we can deal with this to prevent an actual someone developing an anxiety disorder. Um, so again, when your anxiety is very intense or long lasting, or the thoughts are going on for weeks or last months, this is when a person can actually develop an anxiety disorder. So other symptoms may accompany anxiety. So it might be psychological and physical symptoms as well. And sometimes our small responsibility or activities can cause anxiety, such as how am I going to pay the bills now? Or how am I going to go and get my groceries now? So there's a lot of the things that we normally have to do in our daily routine that is being impacted by COVID precautions and levels of alertness that is impacting how we go about our daily lives. Um, so some of the signs and symptoms of anxiety you may experience. And again, I'm not giving these to you to actually self-diagnose yourselves, but just more for our own awareness. So some of the signs and symptoms of anxiety that we may experience could be shortness of breath. Someone may develop heart palpitations, feeling detached from your reality in that. Muscle tension, headaches, body aches. A lot of times people may develop muscle tension or stress headaches. Negative thoughts or images of your worst fears happening. Again, a lot of sometimes we may think things are going to happen. The worst case scenario, trembling, shaking, nausea, or abdominal pain or whatever, distress, dizziness, sorry, uneasiness, hot flashes, fear of dying, fear of losing control, not being able to concentrate, or racing thoughts, or avoidance. And a normal functioning of life is interrupted. And this is pretty much what we're all experiencing now with COVID and the situation of the pandemic is impacting on our work lives, but also our personal lives. So these are just a list of some of the signs and symptoms you may see in yourself, and there may be other ones that are specific to you that are not listed here. And again, this is not for us to diagnose, but for us to be uh, aware. So some of the causes of stress and anxiety. Again, stress is very simply a change in our ability to adapt to the demands in our lives, and this is what is happening now with COVID-19 and the precautions that we have to take around it. So we're starting to experience stress from all these sources. So our environment, social stresses, physiological stress, and our own thoughts. So in terms of our environment, again, just that feeling of being unsafe. Of how can I go out? Is it safe to go to certain places and that? Social stressors, again, we're being asked to isolate from our family members, our support networks and that. Things that we normally do for our own health, we're no longer able to do it. So we have to abstain from socializing, contacts and that. Um, Physiological stress, again, is in our bodies. Again, we may start to feel symptoms of stress. Um, it's not as easy now to do things, to get out and exercise or access places that you would normally go to exercise and that. So again, you may start to feel stress in your bodies not being able to do things you normally used to do to maintain yourselves. So again, and the other thing too is our own thoughts. Maybe we start to think the worst case scenarios about things are going to happen, or feeling a bit helplessness or hopelessness because of the situation, and we don't have the control over it. The thoughts can influence the severity of our stress and how long we experience the stress. So we want to make sure we challenge our thoughts from time to time and ask ourselves how real they are, or how likelihood they are of occurring. Again, there's also a lot of other stressors now. Again, with COVID, the possibility of getting sick. Again, dealing with the precautions and that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So again, we want to just make sure that we all realize, though, that stress is very much normal. We all experience stress from time to time. It's a part of our life, and it's a very normal experience. So, in small quantities, stress is good for us and can motivate us and help us to be productive. So, it can help you perform, get ready for things, to be hyper vigilant, to do what you need to do. The unfortunate thing now with COVID is that it's always there. So, the stress that we're feeling now uh, is maybe not necessarily in small quantities. It's always there now, or it changes from day to day as people listen to the news and get the new reports from the public health minister. So again, our stress sometimes is not necessarily, small and over with. It's kind of it seems to be always there now for us. Um, so the two types of stress, and again, I'm giving you this for your own awareness in that. Acute stress is basically short duration and is often immediate and not automatic response to an event. And it often signals us to deal with a situation and to prove to ourselves that we are capable up to the challenge. So a lot of us experience stress this way, and we're able to go deal with the situation and go back to our regular routine or sense of normal. Yeah, like so, we're able to accommodate what we got to deal with, and go back to our regular normal again. Chronic stress, however, is ongoing stress that may result from a specific event or multiple events. And the symptoms appear when we do not have any relief from the stress or pressure, or have poor coping skills, or have skills that we've never experienced this before, so we haven't actually developed the skills. So again, COVID is actually putting people, causing a lot of chronic stress to people because we're looking at the news, the financial changes in our socioeconomic times, changes in your workplace, how you do work, um, you know, the demands now on family, work, school, the need for continued isolation, requiring social distancing, news reports and stuff like that. So we're constantly now finding ourselves that we don't get a chance um, to get away from chronic stress. So just give you an example. For instance, if you were on a treadmill and you took turns doing wind sprints on a treadmill, you ran fast for 1 minute, and then you took a minute off to walk, get your breath back again, and then you did the treadmill again for another minute hard. So if you're ever anyone have ever done some interval trainings, you know what that feels like. However, with chronic stress, is basically we don't get a chance to have that rest period on the treadmill. We don't get a chance to get off the treadmill, and that is where COVID is starting to affect us in terms of causing us chronic stress. So those outlets that we probably normally would have had to relieve stress and anxiety are being impacted now. So socially, we can't go out and do the things that we probably would normally do to relieve some of our stress and anxiety, connect with people. Physically, there's a lot of places are shut down now where we can't normally go out to the gym or exercise facilities that we normally would do, or go to certain parks that are closed now. So again, a lot of our outlets now for chronic stress are being impacted by COVID and the precautions. So um, I've talked a lot about what stress is and some of the signs and symptoms and how it impacts us. And so want to talk a bit more now about things we can do to effectively respond to our stress. So, being aware of it is one thing. What are things that we can actually do to help ourselves respond to stress? Um, so, um, one of the things why I was giving you so much information about stress and anxiety is one of the things is that awareness is probably the first step in helping yourselves. So being aware of it so that it just doesn't slowly uh, build up with you. So you want to make sure you're aware of it so that you can get help or do things to alleviate it before it gets to a point where it actually causes us problems. So if you don't pay attention to your stress level, it will increase and affect your physical, mental, cognitive, and behavioral health. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to it on purpose. So awareness is the first step in recognizing your signs and symptoms and knowing how stress affects your mind and body. We'll alert you to some techniques to reduce and manage your stress. So you want to pay attention, not so much to focus on it, but to focus on things that you can do to help alleviate stress. And when I talk about this, I talk about this in general, not necessarily in your work, but also in your personal life. So we often talk about work-life balance. I often call it life-work balance. So I often put life first. You often hear me if I've ever done any presentation, I'll always refer to as life-work balance, because really we all have to put our life first. If we don't look after our life first, you won't have a work life. So again, we want to make sure we do things that protect us, our life, basically, right? So again, we want to make sure that we recognize some of the stressful feelings that we're dealing with, some of the symptoms maybe of being stress overload. Uh, Recognize that we feel like we're in a stressful state or being overloaded, and more importantly, look for ways we can reduce our stress. So again, some of the techniques, one of the most important ones I mentioned earlier, like I said, is being aware of it. Notice your stress or pay attention to it. Practice awareness of stress in your body and mind. You want to head it off before it gets away from us, before it becomes chronic. While it's still manageable, while there's still things you can do. So pay attention to your stress response, your physical body changes. Pay attention to your thoughts. Are they speeding up? Are you starting to catastrophize things? Are you looking way too far down the future and trying to answer all the unknowns, right? So acknowledge your feelings and emotions and name them. Again, you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. So just being aware to acknowledge it uh, is a great way to actually, that's your first start in terms of what can I do to change it? So just being aware of it or being acknowledging that's there. Another technique is distractions. And these are activities that we can take attention off of stress. And I don't really like the word distractions. I'd probably call them more like alternative activities we can do besides focusing on our stressful situation. So activities that can take our minds off stress can be helpful. So again, activities that are positive. So the intent here is to divert our energy and focus on something positive that will, is more solution focused or give us a sense of feeling of peace or that we're productive in that. So we want to make sure that we're able to do something that takes our mind off in a positive way. And you see now on Facebook and during our first round with the pandemic, a lot of people were doing a lot of things, posting things online of things that they were doing for their own self care. Uh, you know, uh, Cooking things, playing an instrument, or exercising, or people watching movies and stuff like that. So there's a lot of online activities that people can do. People are doing paint nights and stuff like that. So things that you can do, more or less distract yourself, but focus something on positive that you can do that you have control over. Another technique that we suggest is relaxation. And we all hear about this, we all know about it. Unfortunately, we don't always practice it. And so when you talk about practicing something, it's basically something you do intentionally to get better at. And so, unfortunately, with our own self care, relaxation, sometimes that's the first thing that we kind of ignore or don't pay enough attention to. So, relaxation is very important when you're experiencing stress. Again, it actually can decrease the intensity of stress, decrease the amount of tension that we're feeling. It can calm the mind. And by calming your mind, it opens us up more so to uh, problem solving. We can think clearer. We become more solution focused. So by doing things that relax us. It can slow us down and give us some opportunity to recharge ourselves, um, to get back physically, mentally back to where we were, to be able to deal with things. So, again, there's lots of things that we can do to relax, and I'll mention a few of them later on. Another technique that we can use to alleviate stress and anxiety is this technique called a stop technique. And STOP is an acronym for this technique. So, what it is the cognitive behavioral technique to reverse your stressful feelings and thoughts. Because a lot of times our anxiety and stress is the feeling that we're having is based on our actual thoughts that we have, or on automatic thoughts that we may have, or cognitive distortions sometimes that we may have about a situation or event. And this is based when a person will identify the feelings of their stress. And so how they change thinking about it will change how they feel about it. So in terms of stop, the first the letters of stop, S stands for basically stop. Stop what you're doing and put things down for a minute. T stands for take a few deep breaths. So when we talk about deep breaths, we're talking about, big deep breaths. So we're trying to breathe into our stomach and watch our stomach rise so that we get great big deep breaths. We talk about a 4 second breath so that you actually get all the necessary oxygen into your system to calm yourself down. The O in stop refers to observe. Observe your experience just as it is. So observe your thoughts, feelings, and emotions in that moment. And again, these are not permanent. So notice any emotions that you're feeling in that particular time. And naming your emotions can actually hopefully turn down the volume and the circuit of fear in your brain. So hopefully just by noticing it and observing it, you can realize what's going on before it gets away on you. And then P stands for proceed. And so proceed with something that will support you in the moment. Again, stop yourself and proceed with something that would actually help your stress and anxiety from actually escalating. So again, that maybe, oh, I'm going to pick up the phone and talk to someone now. No, I'm going to get up and stretch now. No, I'm going to go outside and get a breath of fresh air. No, I'm going to go out and have a cup of tea now. So again, do something, proceed with something that will help you alleviate your stress. So that's a great technique for us to use on a daily basis. Um, Another one is action. So another technique is action. So these are activities using self-awareness to empower us to reduce and eliminate stress. So you doing something, taking action sometimes will alleviate stress. Sometimes we get into analysis paralysis where we're kind of stuck in our own thoughts about things and we don't actually act on it. So, what we're talking about with action, we're basically getting into a problem solving mode. We're empowering ourselves to actually deal with a situation, setting goals or making a step by step plan to deal with it. It could be like learning conflict resolution or finding a new way to deal with something, or just getting yourself organized or making a to-do list of things you have to do. And I often refer to them as to-done lists. So a lot of times we don't mark off the things that we have done. So making a list of things you've done, sometimes seeing your own accomplishments can go a long ways to reinforcing things that you've done to to get your goals or to deal with a situation. So anything that can encourage us, motivate us, or challenge us to basically deal with the stressful situation, right? So some of these things that go a long way, and they can be like learning time management skills, organizational skills, breaking down the task into smaller pieces where you got to start somewhere. Again, seeking professional help sometimes, or from someone, which is not necessarily a weakness. it actually shows strength that a person is able to identify that they need help and go out and seek help. So again, things like that, getting advice from your friends or other professionals and that. So these are things that you can do as actions that you can do to help alleviate your stress. Another technique we talk about is positive daily affirmations. A lot of times in our society, we focus mostly on the negatives. And unfortunately, our media and social media and news broadcasts tend to focus more so on negatives in our lives. And these are the messages that we hear on a daily basis. So using daily affirmations, things that you can do to that would affirm are positives for you. So the intent here is to ground us emotionally and help us remember that we do have skills. We do, there are things that we can do to alleviate our stress and pressure. And again, things that we actually have in our lives that we may not necessarily be aware of or may not necessarily be considering. So, with our current situation, with the new outbreak of COVID, um, we have to realize that we've been through this before. And prior to this, we probably didn't have enough hand sanitizers. We probably didn't know all about the protocols for social distancing and that. We probably didn't have enough face masks and stuff like that. So, but now with this next second wave, we have those that knowledge and skills, hopefully, to help us deal with the stress of this situation. So, use things or give yourself daily affirmations of things that you've done before, things that you've used before to help yourself for new situations that we're now facing. So just to kind of recap some of these again, relaxation, we're going to try and do things to calm our mind and body, things that we can do to distract our mind's attention off our anxiety or anxious thoughts, and look at ways we can problem solve. Instead of focusing on the problem, what are some things that we can do to alleviate a solution focused approach? Relaxation, so some relaxation strategies are focused breathing, um, getting outside, going for walks, exercising, having a regular sleep routine, or even taking naps when you need to, listening to music. So if you're working from home, maybe have your radio on playing while you're working. Have a cup of tea when you want to. Some other things people do are guided mindfulness activities, um, acceptance for what is happening, and limits of your ability to have control of it. So accept that we can't control the things that are happening to us now. We're dealing with a new normal, and we may have to change some of the ways that we normally dealt with things before. Spirituality is also find what's spiritual for you, what works for you in terms of your spirituality. So we all have different ways of dealing with anxiety and ways to relax. So we want to make sure that we use those to give our body a break from the anxiety that we're experiencing. Some people use different apps on phones or calm apps and stuff like that to help them relax. The distraction activities or alternative activities, again, you know, positive affirmation, exercise, getting out for a walk, reading, or doing an art class or something online, cooking or baking, or believe it or not, cleaning the house. Do something that you haven't never got around to before, but now you may have time to do it. Organizing things at home. So be helping organize things can help alleviate stress. Talking to someone. So again, more than ever now, we may need to reach out and talk to people where our access to people now is so limited through COVID and that. So while we're in our bubbles, we may want to make sure that we reach out in our workplaces or we may be working at home. We don't have those lunchroom chats anymore, maybe, or you office visits. or you go down to the water cooler or go for your coffee and have a chat with someone. So again, maybe we might need to start doing that through phone calls with people that get outside for fresh air if you're working from home a lot. So just take some time to go outside on a break or whatever. So some of these things are great activities to do, alternative activities to alleviate stress. Problem solving. So again, instead of focusing on the problem, we want to problem solve it. So again, positive self-talk, things that we can do, for our own self-talk can reframe some of our negative thoughts, right? Focus on what you have control over, things that you can do to alleviate your situation or deal with your situation. Learning to identify and express your feelings, again, to identify them so that they don't become more intense. Sometimes people may have to take medication, so you may have to check in with your medical physician. That making goals, establishing plans, or again, writing your to-do list, like I mentioned before. Eating healthy and reducing caffeine and sugar. So these are the basic things that we want to do for our own physical health as well. And use any professional resources from your workplace. So again, check in with your family doctor or physician. Maybe you may need medication because of your situation, something to help you just in the here and now. Or you may need counseling. So if there is EFAP programs with your workplace or health benefits, check into those and avail of those if necessary, or find out what exactly they do cover. Maybe there's different types of counseling that's covered as well. Self-help books, different things you can do for yourself, yoga, meditation. A lot of people doing these things online now, virtual classes online, virtual yoga classes online, self-help groups. There's a lot of apps and things out there now, resources, phone lines that people can use to help themselves. So I got a list of those here at the end for you. I'll put up on the screen. So we want to make sure at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we practice self-care. So we want to make sure we take care of yourself. So again, little things. Again, again, I stress the word practice, something that you do intentionally on purpose, but it's for yourself. It's something that will rejuvenate you, not take energy away from you. So it's something we all spend a lot of time recharging our cell phones, and we take great care to make sure our cell phone batteries don't go down. However, we don't always do that for our own selves. So do things that will actually recharge ourselves. Again, we basically put some more water in our own jugs if we're going to be able to pour again to help others. So some key takeaways before I end off here is realize that you're not alone. You are not the only person feeling anxious. So there's a lot of people going who are stressed, confused, uncertain about the events, and that's okay. It's okay at this time with a global pandemic to feel not okay. Okay, so it's okay to be not okay. Each person is individual, and we perceive and experience all of this differently. And again, that's okay. That we may experience it differently. Some people may be more stressed and anxious by different things than others. Take each step one day at a time. Again, do things one at a time. Pick something that you're able to deal with and build on that. If you feel completely overwhelmed, reach out to a crisis line, your doctor. Again, you don't have to deal with this alone. And again, it's all about coming together as a community or in your workplace. Uh, you know, COVID-19 situation hopefully will become easier for us if we all cooperate, collaborate more so with it. So remember that this picture is of the top of the rock it was the Rockefeller Center back in the 30s when they were making it. And if you look at this picture, I always end off with this picture. Kind of a stressful situation, maybe stressful workplace, probably. These gentlemen have to work together. I would think that they have to collaborate really good together. They probably got to trust each other. They probably got to communicate pretty good with each other. But I always draw attention to the fella off to the end here. I don't know if you can see it with my little arrow. Uh, he's kind of looking off to himself there, and everyone's there enjoying their lunchtime together and sharing a cigarette or whatever. But this gentleman, he could be in my own. Just kind of thinking to myself, he could be that one in five person, or the one in three of us that may be struggling with our mental health, or at any point in time with the situation we're facing. But this gentleman is still in the picture with his co-workers. He's still part of the picture. So I just put that out to you folks, that any one of us at any period of time can be struggling from time to time with their mental health or mental illness. But we want to make sure that we always keep all of us in the picture, that we're always actually keeping each of us, looking out for each other, because again, these are unprecedented times that we're dealing with, and not everyone has the answers. So just put that back to all of us in our workplaces. Make sure that we actually reach out to each other and keep everyone in the picture of mental health. And so here are some community resources for you. I mentioned. I'll ask Tara if she wants to post those up later. Some resources outside of workplace in the community. Some great resources here that you can use, access. So a lot of these are free. Some of them are 24-hour and that. So again, by all means, access resources that are out there. Sometimes it's not so much there are no resources, just that we're not probably aware of what's out there. So, and that concludes my part here. If there's any questions, I'll ask you if you want to type them into the chat box to Tara, or I guess you can ask them as well if you want.
Well, I do have some viewers on Facebook, so if anyone on Facebook wants to write their questions in that feed, as well as on Zoom here, by all means do that. Thank you very much for that presentation, John. It's really helpful, not just in the workplace, but certainly just at home, and it's all very much the same. We carry our stress with us no matter where we go, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So does anyone have any questions? I'm just going to keep looking down at my phone here at the Facebook Live comments. And if you want to stop sharing your screen there, John, I might be able to, then we can just see face to face here for a minute. Excellent. So what John mentioned there, he did send me a document that is strictly about tips you can use in the workplace, whether it's in the workplace with colleagues, or if you're working from home. And I know that I certainly need healthier habits when I'm working from home, so I'm definitely going to make sure that shows up on both our website, as well as just put that in the Facebook feed. I personally really like the Home Alone analogy that you use there, John. So I'm going to probably post something about that as well. That's something that everyone can relate to. So take another look at the Facebook comments here. Doesn't seem to be any questions, but yeah, so like I said, I will post that document, and thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Would love your feedback. You can always email me independently outside of here. And just a reminder, if you are not already aware of it, we are doing these chamber chats every 2 weeks. And I want to just, again, arm you with all kinds of different business tools in them. And March 2nd will be our next one. And it's called Selling Your Business 101. So for anyone that's a member or even not a member, tune into that event. It's going to be hosted by Joanne Jacobs, who is one of our members with Bellevue Signs and has sold some companies in her travels. So she's going to be talking to us about that, because I know that may be of interest to some people. I know with the business struggles that people are experiencing over this past year, that unfortunately is kind of a path that some people are considering. So that's why we're going to host that as something very timely, just as this was. So John, did you have a screen you wanted to put up, or just call out the mental health line phone number for people?
Yeah, so let me just see if I can put up the screen here again. Uh,
I can also certainly put it in the Facebook page post there too.
yeah, so here are some community resources. Again, I mentioned to people if they want to access some of these as well. So maybe, Tara, you can share that later with people.
Absolutely.
And again, for anyone out there who is looking for more information, wanted some training for your own workplace or presentations and that, we do a number of presentations and that for workplaces dealing with specific topics. We can actually also do some that are, tailored more so to your particular needs. So by all means, there's some information how to contact me, or if you go onto our website, www.cmhanl.ca, there's also a lot of free resources on there as well, not only for workplaces, but again, like we mentioned earlier, for your own personal care and self care, regardless of your age. So we have a lot of uh, resources there for young people, right up to seniors. So again, by all means, we're there to help.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Again, for anyone who is watching, thank you for being here. Reach out to John or myself if you'd like some more information, and we'll make sure that we get it to you. And so, unless there's any other questions, everyone have a fabulous day. Thank you so much, John.
Stay safe, everyone, and stay well.
You too.
Take care.
Bye. Oh, you too. Bye bye.